Good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Tang. I am the Chief Architect for Hound, and I'd like to welcome you today and thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join me rather. Today I'm going to show you a couple things, including the software that we developed here, and I can see in the room there's some familiar faces and some new faces, which is good, so we've got a good mix. But before I begin and get too far, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. If I'm too loud or too soft, just type a little yes, I guess, in the questions or the chat window there. And okay, good, excellent. Okay. Okay, so before I begin, I want to actually change it up a little bit and send out a little bit of a poll here, just to kind of get us into the right kind of mindset. And so you should be seeing a poll pop up on your window there. And it's basically asking you, how are you today preparing to trade live? Like what? I want you to think a little bit about what the steps are you taking currently? What stage of your trading career are you on right now? And to think a little bit more about, even hopefully more than just about absorbing everything, but also what active steps are you taking to get to your goal? So I'm just waiting for the results to come in, but it looks like the vast majority of you guys so far that I'm seeing coming in, the answers there are actively putting together a strategy, like just piecing it together. And of course that's a little bit open-ended, and I suppose if you're more specific, whether you're sort of putting it together or you're just trying a couple things versus you're actually backtesting it, or I should say, if you're going to be backtesting in the future, maybe you're not at that stage yet, or maybe you haven't discovered how you could possibly do something like that. The vast majority of you guys, okay, I'll just close it off, and you can take a look at the results there. Okay, so that's what most of you guys put in, which is no surprise. I mean, I think what you start to see as I get into this is that it's very typical. And professional traders included. I think this includes professionals that are actively trading live right now. That they, it's not just a one, I guess they don't just create a strategy and then leave it. It's really more of a cycle. And yes, this is being recorded. Okay, so one thing that we had the advantage of doing, before we got into this whole business, is we went and actually studied a lot of different professional traders, and basically trying to figure out what made these guys tick and what made them successful. It's been said obviously that if you want to be successful, the easiest way is just to emulate someone that's already doing it live. And there's a couple things that we found out that they kind of all do in common, even though they have vastly different trading styles. Like I haven't really met any professionals that trade exactly the same way as another one. That just doesn't happen. Trading is about as artistic and is about as subjective as it could possibly be. And that goes the same for if you had if you literally had someone up at the front of the room and you had a room of 50 people and you called out the shots and you said, okay, take a long, take a short, take a long, take a short at the exact same times, you would still actually, surprisingly enough, get 50 different results at the end of the day. And it just goes to show that even if you were given all the trade signals, everybody will execute them slightly differently. Whether it's they'll stay in the trades a little longer, or they will decide to skip a few trades because they don't have that gut feel, or maybe some people basically will always impart some of their own personality into it, no matter how hard, no matter even if you told everybody, no, you must take this trade and you must get off at this time. And the reason why is because everybody's got different different tolerances for risk and different trade styles, and it really boils down to your personality. So, anyways, what I'm getting at is basically professional traders. You know, they like as we've listed here. You know, they actually do a lot of research and testing, and a lot of market research is done when the markets are closed, and they don't just kind of you know, test willy-nilly. They actually have a methodology when they test, and this is kind of where we want to come in and try to push people into this direction where you know it pays to actually have some sort of pathway or road. You know, when you're doing your research and testing, just like a scientist, right? When they're trying to discover a cure, they're trying to solve some sort of problem. You know, the random approach, the shotgun approach, very often doesn't get you to your goal. Instead, they take very methodical steps. You know, having a hypothesis, testing it out, and then changing it up a little bit as they discover new things, and sort of reiterating it. Basically, what I want to get at is this is kind of an evolution to basically traders. You know, when they first begin their trading career, they usually start off as an ad hoc trader, meaning that they're trying all sorts of different things and seeing what sticks. And sometimes they are wildly successful in the beginning, and then sort of get their head inflated and think that's the way to go, and then they get crushed because they get too cocky. Sorry, I guess I just realized I'm actually showing this I'm still showing the poll results here. So let me back up here. All right, so sorry guys. Anyways, what I was saying is that you know, these three sort of phases, you know, we sort of call it the evolution of trading. You know, and at some point of the career, if they're still going for it, you know, realize that, hey, you know, I need some sort of methodology, I need some sort of trade system or some sort of, you know, trade rules to abide by to get some sort of consistent results. That's what I call the systems trader. Now, we kind of live in this digital age, and you know, I guess if we were in the 1990s, that would sort of be the end of the chain there for most retail traders. But these days, we have a lot of computer power with us, and we now, you know, what we now like to classify these traders, what I call these algorithmic traders. And I'm not talking about a black box robot that just, you know, fires off signals with you have no idea what it's actually doing. What I'm talking about is harnessing computer power to actually arrive at a trading system in the quickest way possible. You know, and not just a trade system that someone else may have designed, but your own trade system that you've designed using your own criteria, using your own risk parameters, and using your own trading style. Okay, so most of you probably understand this already, obviously, because you're here for a reason. You know, system trading is something that allows you to get to consistency. You know, if you're not trading without some sort of set of rules, it's very difficult to replicate your success, and therefore very difficult to actually you know, maintain. You know, so basically treat this as a business and have some sort of predictable kind of income. So not only that, but system trading also lends itself to a lot of other kind of hidden factors, I like to call them. Things like confidence, right? And being able to trade opportunities that you know, being able to recognize opportunities and then making sound decisions very quickly that, hey, yeah, this is an opportunity to go in. You know, if you don't have your rules set, you know, you'll be missing a lot of these opportunities because you know, if you're just trading from the hip, you don't really know, you know, what kind of rules are. You know, you don't really know if you're supposed to be going in or not. You know, but if you have a set sort of trading system that you're confident and you've backtested and you've realized and you understand the kind of results it can get, you're not going to miss those opportunities because you know when it comes up, you see it, you've dealt with it, you know the kind of expectancy that your system has, and of course that lends itself to confidence because if you know with confidence that your system is telling you to go in, you'll be more likely to pull the trigger, right? If you know the characteristics of your system and that that there may be some losses, like 5 or 6 losses before you get one big win, you know, as some systems are designed, you know, then you will confidently take those losses and keep going until you do get that big win that, you know, makes up for all those losses, and then takes you into the black, you know, like your system was designed. But of course, if you don't know how your system behaves, you know, you'll be very hard pressed to actually take that winning trade when it does come up, thereby messing up your trade results. Okay, so a little bit more about the professional trader. You know, like I said, they don't just ad hoc, you know, just look at charts and suddenly get some magic, you know, inkling of when to go in and when not to go in. You know, even if they're doing it subconsciously, they have some sort of methodology when they're doing the study, they're doing the analysis. And I'm talking about, this is the back testing, this is the market analysis that is done usually when the markets are closed, right? They have some sort of idea, they model it in some way, then they test it, and this is, you know, this is basically a step process that we've sort of outlined, you know, that fits very well, we think, to getting into, you know, getting to that point where you're actually consistently profitable, right? What's the fastest way to do that? Well, you know, you got to be like a scientist. You've got to actually come up with the ideas, and then you have to test them. How else are you going to know you're actually going to be successful with this particular idea? You know, if you just have an idea but you don't test it, well, you know, it's a 50-50 chance if it works in the marketplace, you know, in the real live market. And you don't really want to be trading with real money. You know, actually, it might even be worse than 50-50. It might be, you know, it might be against you, you know, 70-30 or something, and then you have no idea, and you're trading this system that you just come up with, and you're losing 70% of the time. Well, you know, you didn't know that because you never tested it. So you know, it's very important to actually go through these steps, not with your real bank account, because if you do, you're not going to be in this game for very long. You know, so this is the, you know, again, this is the kind of steps you need to be taking in some form if you want to be getting to the point where you're actually consistently profitable. So the big question is, of course, like, how do you actually test? Like, how do you know what you've got, your idea, your trading system actually works? Well, you know, in the old days when there was no computers, you know, people would just basically take their sheets of paper out, and, you know, and I'm talking before even spreadsheets were invented, you know, they would go through and they would manually look at the charts, and they would, you know, map out every single trade and then hand calculate what the profit would have been if this trade was taken, and so on and so forth. And then every new idea and every new tweak, they have to go back from point A again and redo it. Probably a little faster with Excel, with an spreadsheet, whatever, if you're using that method, but not much faster, really. You know, with this day and age of computers, like, really, computers can do these back tests like in a snap. You can do 3 years of you know, tick data, you know, with thousands upon thousands of bar data, and it can analyze, you know, trades, you know, with very complicated criteria that you've specified, you know, and in a split second give you the answer. Was it profitable? Was it not profitable over the last 3 years? You know, and that's what you want, because you don't want to be sitting there. This is the grunt work that computers should be taking this load off your shoulders, calculating basically, you know, what's the profitability of this particular system. The problem is, of course, how do you tell the computer what kind of trade system you've got? You know, and essentially, you know, unless you're a programmer, really there is no easy way to do it, until, you know, I guess until our product came along. But, you know, before that, you know, if you wanted to you specify, I want to take a trade when, you know, the 10 SMA crosses the 30 SMA, and the MACD is looking good and momentum wise, you know, how do you tell a computer that? Well, you know, you have to program it. And not everybody's a programmer, and believe me, programming in itself is quite a mastery, a field of mastery. It's not something you can just learn overnight. And those of you, there's probably some of you in this room that certainly tried that. You know, and there's a lot more to it. I'm sure when you get into it, you realize, hey, this is a lot more daunting than it really looks. And that's where we come in. Okay, so we've developed this software that allows you to model your trade system using your indicators, using your criteria, you know, using your personality, your trade style. You know, we don't force you to trade in any particular way. We're just a tool that allows you to realize your trade system and model it successfully in the computer. And once you've got it modeled, you get all those other things for free. You get the the backtesting capability, the very fast, rapid backtesting, the ability to auto trade it if you want, and also the ability to see your actual trade entries as they happen in real time when the market's actually going. Okay, so and our whole goal here is these are sort of things that are sort of used to be the province of hedge funds, and this is these are the benefits that we're trying to endow the retail trader with, the ability to actually model systems without actually having to code them. And like we like to say, it's extremely fast and flexible. Like we have a lot of our customers are actually developers as well, and they still choose to use us because, one, if they really want to, they can actually still extend our product and use their custom code in it. But by and large, if it does 95 to 90% of what they want to do already and does it far quicker, as you'll see. I'm going to put together a system literally in 15 minutes that would take a coder maybe a week or at least a couple of days, a very experienced one, a couple of days to do. Okay, so let's move on to sort of a system example here. And this is actually one that my partner has put together. Okay, he calls it the classic stock signal. It actually comes as a example system with the install with Bloodhound. And so you'll actually see it in one of your folders when you install it. And it's a very simple system. It relies on 3 separate criteria using no fancy proprietary indicators. It just uses this basically standard indicators that come with NinjaTrader already. And as you can see, it's basically kind of a trend capturing type system. Works really well on instruments that are that have large sweeping movements. Things like instruments like Google. The crude oil, the Euro USD. It's designed to work on the daily scale. That's not to say it can't be, potentially adapted for an intraday scale. It doesn't take too many trades throughout the year. Like, it's not a chop type trading system. It's one that just sort of picks a good one and rides it out. And like I said, it's a trend system. So, this may not be a type of system that you favor, right? You have to be very patient, obviously, for these kind of systems to bear fruit. If you like more action-oriented type systems, trend systems tend not to be very good for those kind of people. Like, again, as I say, alluding to before, the trade system that you choose has to match your personality. Okay, so and I don't say you've got to choose just one trade system. A lot of people trade multiple systems, but nonetheless, here we go. So this trade system uses some pretty simple rules. Okay, so I've got my little laser pointer up there, and you can sort of see I'm basically one of the rules here uses a simple crossover component. Okay, so imagine this is the SMA 30. Okay, it's a simple moving average, and it's plotted on the chart here. We're going to design a trigger that goes long. One of the layers of the triggers, I guess you'd say, it's going to go long when we cross over the 30 line, and it's going to signal basically, hey, I'm good to go short when we cross over the 30 line, below it. Okay, so that's component number 1, and I'll jump to component number 2. Okay, so again, we're going to combine a couple components, and so the second component is we're going to look at the stochastic. So this is an oscillator, and oscillators tend to this one, the stochastic in general, was sort of designed for okay, well, let's find those points where we're in these quote-unquote overbought and oversold conditions. Okay, so when the stochastic, typically plotted below the chart, is kind of below this threshold, or below, basically 1/4 of the way of the plot. Like the stochastic goes from 0 to 100, so below, say, around 25 or 35. It's said to be, the market's said to be in what we call this oversold condition. Okay, meaning that the bears have really hammered the stock or the instrument or the futures, whatever it is, and now there's probably going to be some buying opportunity involved. Okay, so what we want to do is sort of capture the point where there's a bit of a turnaround. A lot of these professional traders that we've observed, they don't try to necessarily. By the way, for those people that are asking if this is being recorded, yes, it is. A lot of professional traders that we've seen actually, tend not to, and we don't give trading advice, but I'm just sort of relaying kind of what I've seen. Okay, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But a lot of professional traders that we've seen typically don't try to pick the actual peaks and valleys, but what they do is they actually wait for a sign that there's going to be momentum in the other direction before they go on. So instead of sort of trying to pick the bottom part of this, they're actually looking for the point where it breaks back above this threshold into the normal zone. Okay, so we can call this basically, we're going to layer this in and call this basically another long, another indication that a long would be a possibly good choice. Same with the short condition. Okay, so we're going to say you have to break above this threshold up here first, and then it's only when you come down from this threshold will we actually say that we're going to possibly go short. So I'm gonna start with those two conditions. There's a third one, but I'm gonna start with these two, and I'm gonna model them in Bloodhound. All right. So what I've got here is the CL daily. Let me just minimize the charts. We don't need it at the moment. Okay. And I'm just gonna start putting on the criteria as we've outlined so far. Okay. So Bloodhound is an indicator. All right, so we start with going to the indicators and scroll down to SI Bloodhound, okay, because SI is the initials of our company, Shark Indicators. I double click it, and I can just pop it right on like that, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this button up here that now shows up at the top of the chart, and that's going to open up the Bloodhound interface. I'm going to put that to the side because that's basically our workspace now. That's the place where we're going to describe our trade system, right? So in this window here, we have what we call basically solvers, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell it to start looking for crossovers here. Okay, so crossovers, the SMA 30 cross is the first one I'm going to model. All right, so I'm going to pop that in here. I'm going to hit Add. Okay, on the right hand side, we have some properties of this solver, and pardon me. And we're basically, we're going to be looking at the closing price against the SMA 30. Okay, so let me go here. And as you can see, I'm trying to select an indicator here, and the SMA 30 is the one we want. And you can see on the left-hand side, I've got pretty much all the indicators installed in my system here available. And this works with any sort of third-party indicator that you may have downloaded or maybe bought from a vendor or something like that. As long as it plots a value, and you can actually read its value. Okay, and so as soon as I did that, like basically no need to sort of manually refresh anything. You can see instantly Bloodhound has now populated the chart with these signals. Okay, so I can see this is the SMA 30 here in the brown line. Okay, and you can see the moment that it crosses below this brown line, I get the red signal, and the moment it crosses above the 30 SMA, I get the green signal. And you can see if I scroll back, it's sort of the case there through all the instances. So instantly marks the chart up with all the crossovers that I'm interested in. Okay, so I'm going to call this one the SMA 30 cross. Right? All right. Let's go on to the second criteria. So I'm going to check this off so it disappears. Okay, so I can actually enable and disable pieces of information here. And the next one I want to look at is actually another crossover, very similar. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be testing again now the stochastic against a certain threshold. Okay, so let's start with the long condition first. And if you recall, we want to capture this point here, right, where we basically get this the stochastic crossing back above, in this case, the 25 threshold. Okay, when it crosses about 25. And we'll worry about that first, okay? Then we'll worry about the short condition later. Okay, so let's do that. And we want, again, the indicator. And I'm going to scroll down to stochastic, hitting S on my keyboard so I get the S's really quick. Double click on stochastic. Now you'll notice actually I'm not tied to just using the stochastic as, with its default parameters. I can actually manipulate them. My partner, Zach, who's put the system together, actually likes to use a slightly faster stochastic. And as you can see, the stochastic actually has multiple plots. It's got a D and a K plot. I've conveniently hidden the K plot and actually just plotted the D in green Okay, so I'm just going to select the D, hit OK, and let's turn that back on. All right, and now we want to actually go against the like I said before, the 25 line. So I'm going to select the absolute value. Okay, so this is telling Bloodhound, compare the stochastic D plot against an absolute value of 25 and show me the crossovers. And so that's exactly what it's doing now. And you can see basically it's mapped all the instances where it's actually crossed both below and above the 25 the 25 threshold. Now, if you're really paying attention, you'll note that we don't care about these ones going down into the oversold condition, right? We just want the ones where it's crossing above. Remember, right? For the short conditions, we don't want it. We don't want these guys here. We would actually want the ones coming down from here, from the 75. Okay, so I don't want these red ones. They don't make sense in this system, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Bloodhound just to evaluate just the long side only, right? And now I've got just the long values here. All right, and this is the stochastic long. All right. Now, I'm going to put them both on just so you can sort of see what's going on. Okay, and let me explain this. Okay, so if you don't get this right away, that's okay. You know, like it's one of those things that once you sort of understand what's going on, it'll snap and make sense. But essentially, now I've got these sort of half plots here down here. Okay, so I've got these instances where it's sort of telling me, okay, down here I've got a half plot that's saying half your criteria. Right, so if you notice, it's 50, right? 50%, right? That's half. Half my criteria is being met, right? And that's because of this stochastic. But there was no crossover here on that same bar, for the no long condition for the SMA. Similarly, over here, right? There was a crossover above the SMA, but no long condition on the stochastic, and that's why we get these half bars. Okay, so just remember that. That's important. I'm going to shut those off right now, though, and I'm going to recreate the stochastic, but this time I'm going to do the short position here. The short condition. And same idea. I'm going to select the stochastic, and I'm going to again change the parameters back to where my partner liked them. And this time I'm going to use an absolute value of 75, right? Because we want to see it go below the 75 line. Okay, same idea. Okay, now we got these short ones we like. We like them coming down from above the 75 to below. We don't care about these ones going up. Okay, so I'm going to kill one side. Short only. I only want to see the short ones. Okay. Now I'm going to combine the criteria. Okay, so I'm going to put the long and the short up together, and you'll notice, not surprisingly, that they never line up. Right? You'll never actually get a short condition matching with the long condition, because the long condition, like the stochastic can only be in one place at one time. Okay, so that's why we get these half bars, right? So what we've actually designed, and this is where the real power of Bloodhound comes in, is we have this logic screen here. Okay, so we can actually create very complex trading logic really quickly. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my long and short, and I'm going to tell Bloodhound, look, so I just put the long and short conditions for the stochastic up here, and I'm going to tell them when either of these signals goes through, pipe me in as an actual signal. And that's what it's done here. Okay, so now you can see that it's now taking, each bar basically it's analyzing. In the previous, let me explain. But in the previous screen here, in each bar, it's basically looking at each bar and saying, do all three conditions meet? Yes, no. Do all three conditions meet? Yes, no. And it's literally doing that for every bar. Okay, so that's this is one way to really quickly go through and say, do all these conditions meet? Yes, no, and then basically go through each bar and find out if they do. It's physically impossible for the long and short ones to meet because they never, you can never be crossing above, well, it's physically impossible because first of all, we told this to restrict it to only the long side and this one only to the short side, so you never get two longs agreeing with each other because one solver doesn't even spit out longs and the other one doesn't spit out shorts, so how can they ever agree? So so now we've actually got them tied together with an OR node, and now you can see we get the expected result here. So you can see that we've got exactly what we want. We've got it crossing above this 25 line. We've got this thing crossing below the 75 line, below the 75 line, above the 75 line. So this is a stochastic condition mapped out pretty good. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in the original estimate cross that we had and say, look, when this agrees with the stochastic, go in. So to do that, I need an AND node, right? And we probably won't get too many bars that do because, believe me, it's pretty hard to line these guys up. How often do you actually get this stochastic actually crossing on the exact same bar that the SMA has been crossed? Very, very rarely. Okay? In fact, there you go. I mean, that was pretty hard to spot, but you can see it did happen here, right? So it went below on this bar here, went below the 75. At the same time, went below the just barely, just barely went below. Actually pierced it, but came back up. But still closed below this SMA 30 on the exact same bar. Right? Actually, in the same case here, just crossed above here on the 25 here, and then crossed above the 30 just on this exact same bar. Okay, so obviously this is pretty strict criteria. So what are we going to do to sort of loosen it up a little bit? Well, here's something pretty neat. What I can do. Okay, so I'm going to notice if I plug this SMA 30 right into the result node here, then now all we see is the SMA 30 by itself. Okay, so this is the SMA 30 cross by itself. Okay, virtually the same thing as sort of enabling it by itself. I want to thicken these lines a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to make it so that, look, if any one of these criteria happen within 3 bars of each other, let's call that a good a good signal to go in. Okay, so by changing the look back period, I'm basically telling Bloodhound, look back 3 bars, and if you see a crossover anywhere in the last 3 bars, paint me something here. Okay, so now we've got basically a nice thick bar, thick long and short signals that last for at least 3 bars. And if I do the same things for the stochastic, we're probably going to have, and this is the way the system is designed. I'm not just sort of making this up necessarily, but this is how Zach had designed it. Same idea. I'm going to thicken these ones here as well. All right, this is the stochastic. I thicken these three bars. We're probably going to get a little bit more. Sorry, this is the stochastic. This is the stochastic being thickened. And now if I combine the two, you can see that now we have a few more signals here. Okay, but we still have one more to put in. Let me answer some questions really quick. Yes, this does work for 64-bit Ninja. How does add a bar for a third-party indicator that is not a crossover? So yeah, so good question, Mahesh. He's basically asking, if I had a third-party indicator, how would I use it? Well, same idea. In fact, I will show you with this sort of next little step here, kind of basically how you go about doing this. And let me just bring up my PowerPoint again here. Pardon me, folks. All right, now I'm going to bring PowerPoint back up. All right, so let's see if I get a little bit of a. I gotta bring it to the front here, I think. Oops. Sorry, guys. Just trying to figure out what button to press here to get PowerPoint back out there, and it's not coming up. I think I know why. Let's just. Let's shrink that down a bit. And PowerPoint's right behind me. Okay, so there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so so the last little item I want to put in there, the third component, is actually a MACD. Many traders sort of look at this as, hey, this is kind of like momentum. And the histogram is actually, what it is basically a difference between the two, basically two moving averages in the MACD. And we're going to get the point where they cross over, get the point where the histogram crosses over the zero line. Because a lot of traders like to say, hey, look, when we get this, when we're above the zero line, that's positive momentum. When we're below the zero line, that's generally negative momentum. So let's model this little piece here, and I'll add that in. All right, go back to Bloodhound. And the last piece again, I'm going to right-click this node interface here. And again, I'm using another crossover. As you can see, there's quite a few different tools that you could use. This is not sort of the form that we're going to go over and teach you all these here. I'll explain kind of what kind of educational services we do offer. We basically offer free, included with the price of with Bloodhound. But what kind of things that we can help you to get to where you want to go. And here's the MACD. Okay, so let's plug that into the result by itself so that we can examine it. And again, we want to look at the MACD. Now, Mahesh, all right, you were asking about third-party indicators. Well, I'm going to select the MACD here, but really, if I had a third-party indicator here, which I don't think I have installed on this VMware here, but if I did, it would show up in this list, right? And you would just simply select it. Okay, it could be anything. Like basically, this is the list of indicators on your system, third-party or system. It doesn't matter. It'll be all there. Bloodhound will find it if it's loaded in memory. It will find it and it will use it. It will present it, and you can also manipulate third-party indicator settings as well. Again, like I was saying, in this case, we want to look at the histogram, which is also called the diff. So I can actually select this particular plot, and we're going to be comparing this to the absolute value of 0, or the 0 line. And you can see here immediately I've basically Bloodhound painted the chart. Anytime that we're above 0, we get green. Anytime we just hit below 0, we get red. And just as before, I'm going to thicken these lines, get them nice and thick like that. Give us a little more leeway. So that's basically telling Bloodhound, hey, look, give me a 3-bar leeway. If all these 3 criteria line up within 3 bars of each other, give me a signal. Okay, so the last piece here, and sorry I didn't really explain it, but what I'm going to do now is plug this into the AND node so that now we have all my criteria plugged in. So I've got my stochastic criteria, I got my SMA cross criteria, I got the MACD cross criteria in there. I'm adding them all together. I'm going to pop that into the result, and there you go. That is now your valid trade signals for this system. All right. So let's just inspect that real quick. But you can see, yeah, here you can see basically we got a cross of all 3 in the same. Actually, we got a cross of the MACD just on this bar, the stochastic cross there, and the SMA 30, the price against the SMA 30 cross there as well. So you can see that. So very quickly we can mark this out, and in a moment here I'll show you how you can backtest that. Okay, so let me just make sure I'm not seeing any questions here. Actually, rather, why don't I continue with this, and I will answer the questions. Let's say at the end, near the end of the presentation. Okay, so all right, so what we can do is we actually use NinjaTrader's very powerful strategy analyzer functionality. And if basically, if you're a programmer, you'd probably be familiar with this. If not, chances are you've probably never used it before. But basically, in NinjaTrader, if you go to the New menu and you go to Strategy Analyzer, you can pop this open. All right, and here on the right-hand side, we can select our strategy. Now, Bloodhound ships with a strategy called SI Raven. Okay, and Raven is the strategy component of the indicator. And the first thing we're going to do, first thing I should mention actually, by the way, guys, is I forgot to say you can actually save this. All right. And I'm not going to clutter up the system, clutter my desktop with new files, but basically like this system that I just built just now is actually comes with the install of Bloodhound as a tutorial. Okay, so it's already saved there, and this is where you get it. It's under tutorials, signal, classic stock signal. Okay, so if you install Bloodhound from our website, you will get that automatically, and all you got to do is just basically go here and load it. Okay, so I'm going to load up the stock signal, and under entry, I'm going to select entries because that's the entry logic that we had put together. And here you can actually select a couple different settings for your stops and your profit targets and whatnot. So what we have actually is the ability to specify, say in ticks, how far your profit target or your stop loss will be. We also got this neat little feature called ATR, which will basically stands for average true range, which is essentially trader speak for what the average bar size is. Okay, so if we just found through just some loose testing that if we set this profit target and the stop loss to equal risk to reward about 8 bars, we get some pretty good results. I encourage you, having Bloodhound to play around with it and try find your own settings that you like the most, right? But like I said, this stuff is fairly easy. It's just a few button presses, and you can easily backtest, various different settings. Okay, and as I said, it is a daily system, so we're going to use the daily data. On the left-hand side, I'm going to select a basket of instruments here. I've got the 6C, I've got the Apple, Amazon, a couple different stocks, and some commodities and some futures. Sorry, some futures there that I want to try out. And I'm going to select about 3 years, a little over 3 years of, no, sorry, a little under 3 years of data. Okay, since 2010, because that's what I got loaded on my system. Hit run backtest. Let it crunch numbers, and this is again stuff that would take a human far longer to do. And immediately I've got the results here. It's showing me all the different trades for the performance for all the different instruments. Didn't win for all of them. In fact, NQ took a bath. So did ES. But by and large, you did okay if you were just trading one contract, or it's probably pretty skewed, but with the stocks, because you're only trading one position with a stock, so perhaps these would look a little different or influence the results a little differently. But if I select them, this is all stuff that comes with NinjaTrader. I can look at things like, and this is, this kind of analysis is where the important stuff comes in. Okay, this is where we're talking about stuff that, in general, a lot of traders that don't have this capability can't, simply don't do, right? So here, we can see basically what's called a cumulative profit graph, and you can see what the, how you would have done. Basically look at the characteristics of this particular system. So, it didn't do too well for the first 2 years, first year, I would say, first year and a half. This is something, to look at and analyze and say, okay, so maybe the system needs some improvement. Because, you have to ask yourself, had I traded this system live, would I have been able to actually, endure this period here where there's basically a drawdown, okay? And you'd only sort of know that, like if you look in hindsight and you look at the backtest results, you can say, okay, well, I'm expecting, there's going to be some drawdowns. How cool am I with that? It's only if you see these kind of graphs can you make that decision for yourself before you trade live, right? So this is, again, a lot of the motivation while we built this tool. Okay, so let me just minimize that. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of go on to the fun portion of the demonstration here. I'm going to connect to a simulated data feed. I'm going to show you basically how we can take basically trades. We can auto trade using Bloodhound. After you've modeled your system, then now you'll have the ability to basically trade your system using Bloodhound to actually manage your positions and whatnot. So I'm just waiting for this loading data here. NinjaTrader. Ed, yeah, I'm using an i7. I can't remember the speed I'm using, but I'm actually in a VMware, so stuff inside of VMware tends to be a little slower. Let's see. Steven saying, I use RJ's channel trend bars and some of his other bars. Does Bloodhound work with other bar types? So yeah, good question, Steven. It works with any bar type. You know, any of RJ's bars will work just fine as well. You know, basically, you can. Let me just show you I'm just going to load this with a continuous contract. Sorry, but I'll keep talking. So basically, yeah, you can use any bar, and you can put Bloodhound on any bar type, and you can also add bar types, additional bar types to your analysis. So Bloodhound actually is multi-time frame capable. So if you're the type of trader that likes to bring in, you know, 144 tick, and then use a 10 range to trade, and then you're also looking at the 4 Renko, and you want basic conditions happening on all 3 of these bars, no problem. There's actually a little chart button that you can just open up, and then actually, if I can probably pull up the window for it right now. So let's do that. I'll show you what I mean. All right. Actually, I'm just gonna go for broke here, and okay, I see that maybe that loading of data probably helped it. I think so. Let's just try that. Let's just try that simulated data one more time. Oh, it did work. Okay. Okay, good. I think it was basically guys. I didn't have the data loaded. I'm sorry about that for wasting your time. All right, so let's pop open a secondary chart here on the left. Okay, I'm gonna just load up my template here, or load up my chart template so I can get the demo that I wanted to show you originally going. All right, sorry about that, guys. All right, so what I was getting at is let me just illustrate real quick here. But in Bloodhound, you have actually a chart button that you can throw on. Okay, so it's loading data again. Hopefully, you're not going to kill me. All right, and you see this little chart button. I can press this chart button, right, and right here now I can go in and I can select, any other chart type to add to my analysis. So whatever you got, and third-party ones will work just fine. So if you've got RJ's bars, they'll show up there as well. And it pops over here. Now you can add solvers underneath it, so I can analyze things like what's the bar direction of the 1 Renko at the time, things like that, right? So you can do multi-time frame analysis. Now this is only available in the professional and the ultimate versions. The standard version does not have that capability. Okay, so anyway, so let's move on. What I wanted to show you in the beginning was this. Okay, so I'm going to open up strategy, go to Raven again. I have a 210 crossover defined already. Okay, I'm going to load it up. Okay, and it's very simple. It's just the 2 and the 10 crossing over each other. And you'll notice on the right-hand side, I've just got these two, this purple line here. That's the SMA 2. The gray line is SMA 10. I'm just going to generate a bunch of signals to get us in, just to show you. Basically, prove to you really that you can take positions on with Bloodhound. Okay, so let's fire up this guy. We have a bit of an interface as well on the right-hand side, allowing you a little bit of manual control. Like if you want to, you basically got your auto trader going, and maybe you want to break for coffee. You can go and disable your entries, or you can close out position without actually killing everything. For example, say you're trading crude oil, and I think there's a economic report that comes out every Thursday. Is that right? At 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I may be mistaken. It's been a while since I've looked into that sort of stuff. But if you don't want to trade through, say, a news event, you could just hit this disable entry, and no entries will be placed on until you go back in. Okay, so. Actually, we're not seeing anything because we need a 24/7 chart. All right, let's do that same thing on this right-hand side.
Order pending.
Okay, so that was actually a Bloodhound taking, or sorry, Raven, I should say, taking an actual position without my intervention. Okay, and as you can see, the long position went on. I can see it on the left hand side of the chart trader. I can actually manipulate it too. I can go in here and I can go and I can switch it up. You know, and actually, you know, here's another thing that we can do is let me close that guy out.
Order filled.
And let's fiddle with the settings a little bit. And coincidentally, this is something I'm actually enhancing right now. So some of the stuff that I'm showing is actually going to be replaced with something even with some more features and more capability. But we can actually trade ATM. So if you're familiar with the NinjaTrader ATM, you can actually do some pretty complicated stuff. So I've got one here that will actually put on a narrow, tight stop at about 10, well, narrow being your, you know, relatively narrow, at three contracts, you know, 10 ticks above and below the entry price, and then I've got a runner that's going to be a wider stop. So I can go and I can select that, and as soon as she gets going again, just doing the historical calculations. I'm going to go down here and force an entry signal.
Order filled.
And you can see my ATM has now been placed onto the basically the ATM gets placed live without my intervention. Okay, so you know, this is a great way. Like a lot of traders like to do this style of trading where essentially they're, you know, they use Bloodhound for the auto entry, and then they like to take over from here and actually manage the trade manually. So I can go in and I can sort of manipulate the ATM just like you would any other ATM, and I can tighten this stop up like so.
Or target filled.
Right.
Or target filled.
There's a flip there. Okay, so you see how fast that happens, right? So like, I mean, no human could pretty much, like, what you're seeing is a delayed view probably through GoToMeeting, but you know, no human could probably take positions on and off that quickly, even if you're just pressing buttons really fast. You know, so Bloodhound is very adept at really fast moving markets.
Target filled.
So there you go. Like that's the auto trader, and like I said, I can actually disable the entries so that we don't get any more entries. But that's certainly one way to trade. Another way to use Bloodhound, and this is the market analyzer window, is you can use it kind of like as almost like a stock screener or a sort of a scanner, and actually you can put on here your system that you developed, and you can, you know, test it against a variety of different stocks or a variety of different instruments simultaneously, a basket of them, say. And I've just simply configured Bloodhound as one of the columns. And the way you do that is you just go to your indicator, then you just pop it in there by selecting Bloodhound as your indicator, like so, right? And then opening up the template, right? So whatever you know, whatever you've decided is your system, you can pop it in there like so, and essentially, you know, you can get these long and short signals, you know, based off of your trade system, off of maybe a basket of instruments that you like to look at, and of course it could be looking at multiple time frames as well. So it could be looking at all these instruments on multiple time frames on each one. So you know, you can have your computer doing a lot of hard work and scanning a lot of things for you. Okay, so yeah, Kelso is asking, how does it work on NG News every Thursday at 10:30 a.m.? So yeah, so there's basically what Kelso is. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of your name, but what Kelso, Celso or Kelso, I'm sorry, is asking about is the news event, right? So how do you prevent the, you know, trading through a news event? Well, there's two possibilities. Okay, you can actually build it into your logic. You can actually tell a logic, do not trade on Thursday mornings at 10:30 a.m. MST, right? You can literally do that, or you know, you can be trading along, and then basically when the news event's about to happen, you just hit the entry disabled. No entries will be taken until you manually turn it back on, right? So so those are, I guess, two possibilities there. Okay. All right.
Target
Let me close that out and close that down. Okay. Oh, sorry, Art. I did miss your fib question. So Fibonacci, we do have support. We have support for support and resistance, but in general, when it comes to determining what support and resistance lines to use, you use basically your favorite indicators. So if you're using Fibonacci's, Bloodhound doesn't do Fibonacci calculations directly. That's something we may tackle in the future, but at least at the moment, not now, because Fibonacci's tend to be kind of different, have a different definition depending on what your goals are, right? So you can calculate Fibonacci's based off the last swings, the day highs, day lows. There's a lot of possibilities. Is what I'm getting at, or you can interpret swings differently. It basically depends a lot on what you mark as your high and low points. Or what do you determine your high and low points are, be it daily highs, daily lows, weekly highs, weekly lows, who knows. That's we've actually put our head together and to try to think about how we can make a very open-ended Fibonacci indicator, and at least at the moment, the thing that we're trying to figure out is how would we allow the user to select which to, in an automated fashion, which to which high and low points to attain. So at least the short answer is, at the moment, Fibonacci's, if you're interested in using that, you can plug in a third-party Fibonacci indicator and use that as support and resistance lines. So that's not a big deal. In terms of native support for Fibonacci indicators, at least Bloodhound does not have that capability yet. And what we're actually going to do is build a separate indicator eventually in the future to do something like that, maybe. Yeah, no promises, but that's something that we're looking into. Okay, so let me just summarize here. So what does Bloodhound again allow you to do? Well, it allows you to model advanced trading. Or sorry, it's a model trade modeler. Allows you to do some really complex logic. I just barely scratched the surface and showed you only two tiny pieces, literally, of logic that you could use. Within Bloodhound, there's quite a lot to it. It's one of those things that you take baby steps and you learn a little bit, and you get over the learning curve, and you'll start to find that you can build systems very fast with it. And so speed is really of the essence here. So again, the whole idea is if you have the ability to model it, then by extension you have the ability to auto trade, as you just saw, using the ATM, even if you'd like, and of course backtesting, which is a big feature that you get. Essentially, that comes with, if you have something that's modeled, then naturally you can backtest it. So this next little piece, I'd like to sort of explain, what the value we try to bring to retail traders is, and for example, that system I just built you, like I said, it would take a very experienced programmer at least a day to do. Probably someone that's new and starting out, maybe 3 to 4 days, maybe a week, to finally get all debugged and worked out. Okay, so it's not exactly, coding is not exactly trivial as if someone tries to make it out like it is. Like I've been developing software since I've been a kid, literally for pretty much 2/3 of my life, and I'm learning new things every day. Software development in itself is a mastery, and there's a lot of people that that are very good at it. And there's a lot of people that are very good at trading, right? But there's very few. I would say there's probably no one in existence that could actually say that they are the top, the cream of the crop at actually both at the same time. Like, you're talking two totally different levels of mastery. So, if you were, say, a hedge fund, right, and you had a trading, your goal was to go on and hire basically an average software developer to develop a trade system for you from scratch. How much would it cost you? Well, assuming that you would iterate many times until you finally backtest it and change. You went back to your programmer, you got him to make some changes and tweaks. You backtested it, and then he'd go back and go through that cycle that we saw earlier and do it again and again and again. Let's just say conservatively it took 50 tries to do it. Okay, say 2,000 man hours. And if you hired a programmer to do that at $20 an hour, which is a fairly cheap rate for a programmer, you're looking at $40,000. That's how much a hedge fund would say spend, say in development, say to get to a system that was tradable. Now, obviously, we don't ask people to pay $40,000, and yeah, this is no big deal for a hedge fund that's a lot of deep pockets. You know, and not to say that hedge funds don't use our product. There certainly are hedge funds that do, and they you know, they see the value in it, and rather than spending a lot of money on a programmer, they, you know, would rather actually do it themselves. And also, you know, now you don't have that sort of lost in translation, fear of loss in translation, right? Your trade ideas have to be spoken to and enumerated to a programmer who then has to put it in code, right? And every time you have that sort of intermediary step, you're losing, you know, you may be losing, there may be some loss of information there, right? So Bloodhound is, you know, it doesn't cost $40,000, like I said. Like I said, we market towards retail traders, and you can get in as actually as low as $295. You know, we have a standard version that's basically a great starter version that allows you to fire off, you know, simple criteria. You know, then we have more advanced packages that give you the professional version. As I mentioned before, allows you to have multiple time frame analysis. Also lets you use that logic screen that I showed earlier, which is really where the power of Bloodhound comes in. And the Ultimate Edition comes with all the things that the professional does, but now it actually includes things like we have what we call function nodes, which I didn't even get a chance to show you. But function nodes are, you know, when you get to a certain point of development, when you're creating your system, you'll start to realize there's certain things that can't be done with the professional version. There's certain limitations with it, that certain logic patterns that cannot be done. And the Ultimate version, that's where it comes in. You actually have what we call function nodes that have the capability to really to step up the power in terms of logic capability. Okay, so so that's basically the presentation. I guess what I'll do before I leave you, you know, I'm going to just leave you at our website here and let you know real quickly, like, you know, when you purchase from us, you know, and you can certainly ask a lot of our customers. They're very, you know, we take our support very seriously, and we know that, hey, you know, the Bloodhound does have a learning curve to it. You know, you can sort of see. Hopefully, I've convinced you today. You can see that there's benefits to learning it. In terms of once you get to that point, you can start pumping out systems like no tomorrow. But you know, like we don't sort of just leave you hanging. When you purchase Bloodhound, you become sort of, you know, we offer some really attractive learning options. So every Friday, for example, and my partner Zach usually runs these. Every Friday we have a workshop, an open workshop, where you just literally ask questions, and we demonstrate basically how to build your system. That you know, questions on how, like, you got a question like how can I build this. You know, we literally have an open environment where we'll build it for you and show you how, if it, you know, show you how it can be done. That runs that's for customers, and it runs every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Customers also can book one-on-one appointments, you know, and basically to have Zach show you personally how to put together a particular system that you're thinking of. And lastly, on our website we have tons of video tutorials and documentation. You know, and if you're just starting out, you know, I recommend you know, go in and try the quick start guide here in the videos. It'll get you up and running. Some of these are a little, like, you know, there may be some things that have changed since we made these videos. They're usually very subtle little things, but essentially, you know, once you get past these videos, you'll be able to build some simple systems. You know, and if you're and then when you get to the point, you know, we also have a slew of videos. If you go to our webinar videos on the right hand side, you can see a lot of our past recorded workshop webinars are up there as well. Okay, so we have a lot of documentation, and of course, you know, finally we do offer ticket support. So if you have any questions, you know, you can go to our support center. We also have a knowledge base below here. If you scroll all the way down, we got basically a knowledge base here for questions. But you can also submit your, you can search, but you can also submit a request. and they'll open up a ticket and we can answer your question. So we have a lot of ways that we help you out to get to where you want to go. But basically, all right, that's basically all I had actually for today. So let me just make sure there's no additional questions, and then we'll be off today. So John's asking, how are the upgrades to the software handled? So good question, John. Thanks for asking. Let me go back and I'll show you. If you go to our comparison chart here, there's a different versions here. First of all, this will show you kind of like what each version has to offer. But below it, you'll see our little upgrade chart, and there it is, right? So basically, if you bought the standard, and want to upgrade to a professional later, that's not a problem. Just just let us know, and we'll send you instructions on how to do that. But essentially, it's just a little bit marginally more than it had you just bought it out straight. So they're only about $100 apart, and you can see the upgrade prices are $15 more. Okay, so Ed's asking, is there a manual? So the manual is online, right? So if you go to our support, our documentation, and basically this is the reference here, okay? So on the right-hand side, you can see all the solvers are mapped out here, all the logic nodes are mapped out, and including things like how to fully automated trade, and someone asked earlier about programming and extending. So we actually have some documentation too. If you're a programmer, here's some sample code, and sort of the insides of Bloodhound and how to access the Bloodhound values. So if you took it as an indicator and then you actually want to extend its capability and manage your own trades or do something fancy with it, this is how you would read its values in, like so. So if that's sort of that's the sort of thing, the path you want to go down, you could certainly do that. And we actually have sample code here as well on strategy here. So if we go to sample strategy, right, here's some sample code of how you go about implementing something like that. So caveat again, folks, just remember that if you are doing this sort of stuff, that's a little bit outside our support capability. So just sort of do it at your own risk, I guess is what I'm getting at. All right. Where can I download the sample you showed us? Okay, so yeah, that's a question I should answer. Basically, you go to our homepage and go to free download. There it is. You just pop in your information and hit download, and it's basically it's an executable file. So let's just do that. And that's the phone number, but I don't need to put that in if you don't want to. And basically, it just downloads as an executable file, and you just go ahead and run it. All right. So and once you run it, it's installed on NinjaTrader. Just make sure you close down NinjaTrader before you do it, and it's on your system. Everything that includes the tutorial templates, includes the Bloodhound system, and all that. And there you go. Our future enhancements included, David. Great question, David. So basically, the way the licensing works is you get 1 year of free updates with a purchase. So that includes all upgrades and all. We're always adding new stuff and new features and changing things up and enhancing as much as we can. But basically, you get 1 year of updates to the software. And then at the end of the year, your software will still work, so it doesn't shut off for you or anything like that. It still continues to work. But if you'd like to get future updates and whatnot, you just purchase a maintenance contract from us. Not maintenance fee, sorry. That's $125 for the ultimate. It's basically 25% of the cost. And then that will give you another year of updates. So that's how that works. Okay. Ed, I guess I should slow down and review your website. Thanks. No problem. No problem at all. Okay, David, is the trial download functional with live data? Good question, David. It is not. So the trial is restricted to global simulated mode only. And other than that, there's no other restriction except after 30 days. Okay, so the way the trial works, and there's a little sort of page explaining that. Is that it works pretty much unrestricted except for the exception of live data. for 30 days. And then after 30 days, it'll go into what's called a restricted trial mode, which still allows you to learn the software and still try things out with it just to get comfortable with it. But what it won't do is it just won't paint, say the last 5 bars. So that way if you're trying to trade with the trial version, it won't let you do that. All right, and that's of course just at some point if you're using Bloodhound to actually trade for live money, we do ask that you buy a license. So that's basically how the trial works. All right. Do you need different licenses to run different strategies? No. You just one license, and then you can build as many strategies you want. You can execute as many strategies as you want simultaneously. It works. You can actually install Bloodhound on up to 2 different machines simultaneously, which you can migrate at any time just by letting us know. Or you can actually deactivate your license manually yourself and then pop it onto another machine. So yeah, there's no such restriction like that. You just purchase the software and then you can use it as much as you want. It doesn't really matter. All right. TX. Did you give a time frame for your next revisions? No, we haven't. We never do. That's just something that we learned when we first started out. We were sort of telling people, hey, yeah, we'd have something done for next week, no problem. And then of course we'd find a bug or something, we'd have to fix it, and we'd be delayed. So we don't actually tell people anymore, hey, this is when the next release is going to be. We have our own internal kind of schedule. And sometimes we make it, sometimes we don't. But we try to build new features and release kind of on a continuous type basis. Okay, is the trial version Bloodhound Ultimate? Yeah, so exactly it is. Yeah. So thanks for asking that, David. So yeah, the trial version is Bloodhound Ultimate. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Do let me know if I've missed you, but I don't see any other questions. I don't think that I've answered. So I'm going to stop the recording here.